Hey everybody, it's Cassandra from Beads to Live By. Hi Lori. Oh, it's so good to see your face out there. Um, man, it's I almost said Happy New Year, but we're close. We're not quite there yet. Um, I was starting to get my ducks in a row and then got caught up in prep. How was everybody's holidays thus far? Anything we're still celebrating or um, still have any family gatherings going on over the next weeks or months? I'd love to hear about it. I'm just going to get my other camera in here. I have to be very careful how I do this so I don't screech in your guys' ears with my audio here. But I think that's weird. It's like all reversed. Fun. I think that'll bring us right in there. I'm gonna bring it up. There we go. Well, it's not reversed. So like when I look at it on my one camera, the whole image is reversed, but then when I look at it on your guys' view is correct. So hopefully that doesn't mess with my head too much. So I'm wondering, there we go. There's gonna be, I promise when I start the tutorial and the stitching, I will brighten the light and get some things adjusted. But this project has had quite the life. I did a video on it on Facebook years ago. And of course, Facebook decided to just randomly delete. And they did warn people they were going to do it. It wasn't like it just happened overnight. But the amount of time they gave and what they were doing was not sufficient for a lot of us designers to go through and recreate our tutorials or do anything about the videos that were going to be lost. So needless to say, just one of those things that I just had to let go of in the last year, among so many other things in life. But it also is a project that I had printed in the Bead Cruise handbook a few years ago. So you get this really beautiful color printed guide to the people who sponsored the cruise and so many other things, and a few free tutorials in this book. And this project was also featured in that, of course, because we were going on a cruise with beads. So what else would I offer to give as the tutorial but my nautical chain and charm bracelet? Susan, hi. So Susan is the main reason this is happening tonight. She was asking about this project and lamenting the fact that the video was no longer available on Facebook. So I was like, yeah, it really stinks. I am very sad about it too. And then I said, you know what? We have these adorable new nautical mixes that include so many of the things that you need or would want for this project. With a few additional items, you can make the entire bracelet. So I thought, not only am I going to give the tutorial tonight, but I'm going to give you guys some additional ideas about ways to utilize more of the beads out of these mixes for a similar layered style bracelet. Oh, Lori, they're still available. They were part of my live sale a few weeks ago. It was the beginning of December, but they're there. And to be honest, I think a lot of people might have missed that that live sale because I do have a good amount of these. I also have the nautical beads individually. I mean, you get a few of them per order, but you don't have to buy the bottle, even though I think they're stinking adorable. And I kind of want to just have a set of each of the colors on my shelf somewhere. So I am going to put up a QR code for this link right here is going to take you to the all the nautical themed things on the website. So you'll see that Czech glass in the individual listings, and then you'll see these sets and maybe something else that I'm not thinking of right now. I'm so glad to hear that, Lori. But I also am going to show you guys with these specific colorways, my suggestions for what colors of the fire polish, because you are going to want a 4mm bead as part of this project. So what do I keep, like, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to grab this color. So I think, even though this is very monochromatic, I would use, and this color is called Cobalt Iris Luster. While getting ready for this video, I discovered that there are a handful of 4mm beads that I don't have listed on the website. Sorry, Walter's like roaming around, but she doesn't always. Oh, dude, do you need to go outside, buddy? Okay. Duty calls, you guys know, dog mom life, but I'll be right back. So sorry. Oh, do you go outside, buddy? Sorry, I'm upstairs alone, and I'm not sure what he's up to, but I promise if I leave the screen, I'll be right back. So yes, this is the Cobalt Iris Luster, and this is just a super gorgeous color combo. I think that's a really pretty set together. So my train of thought was, yeah, I think he does need to go outside. All right, I'll be right back, guys, okay? Thanks for your patience, everybody. It's okay, buddy. Hold on. Let me go turn this light on, okay? I hope you're not teasing. Let's go outside. So I'm still here, guys. I appreciate everybody's understanding. You guys can check out the listings on the website while you're waiting for me. Hopefully that's not too big of a deal. I can't wait to see what everybody is loving, though, because I've got those shells listed. So the thing that is brand new in these bottles that the whole reason I made these mixes was because I brought 4 colors of the Murex shells back from the Czech Republic. And the colors of those are so pretty. I mean, I love all of the ones we have already too, but they're extra special. So those are now also available individually, which those shells were not available quite yet when I listed the mixes, but you can now get all of those things on the website at the QR code in the upper left-hand corner. All right. Thank you for your patience. For anyone that's just joining, I was just letting my dog outside. So thank you so much for waiting for me. And I hope you just fast forwarded through that part if you're watching on the replay. But the shells that I'm talking about are these beauties here. And again, I will give you guys more light when we're working on the project. But I'm super excited about all of the options here. And I think I'm just going to dump these into another container for now. Give you guys a look-see here at the next set. So that blue combination, I think, would look really pretty with those fire polish. And then the next I'm going to show you guys, totally one of my favorite color combos because I'm just a turquoise girly all the way. But this fire polish color, and again, I just added these 4mm because I didn't realize they weren't listed on the website until I went to look for them to make sure that the quantities were accurately plentiful. But this is a dark olive rainbow luster. How pretty is this fire polish? I just can't even begin to describe that. Oh, Lori, yeah, those flower tins are super cute, and I have a handful left, but way less of them than the nautical combos. So I'm really glad you're finding things that you like. Thank you so much. But again, these combinations were born out of these really beautiful new shells that I got, and I'm just in love with these sets. So I'm just gonna grab a couple of little dishes that I can pour these things off into so that you guys can see everything the way that it's meant to be seen. And I saved this color combo for last because I'm showing you guys what I'm going to be working with tonight. Uh-oh, Susan, are you going to have to buy more color combos for more bracelets? This is what I'm going to focus on tonight. This warm, corally color combo. And then for some reason, the beads are just going everywhere. I'm going to make this work here. I always make such a mess on my desk when I'm doing these videos, you guys. It's just really fabulous. But I want to pour off. Oof, yeah. I want to pour off some of those seed beads so you guys can see the Czech glass in here. So those first two, the blue, I would do copper chain with. And the chain is important. So I'm going to show you guys the chain I'm using, and that is listed now. The copper chain would be great with the blue because there is copper in the some of the washes on those beads, like that anchor specifically. So we're going to do copper with that. The green has gold in it, so I think the brass chain would be really pretty. And then this one I'm going to use the copper with because it's nice and warm and beautiful. And I am going to use these pearls. So even though the pattern originally used fire polish beads, this is a 4mm pearl and would look really great with the project still. And I have used other pearls in the past. So that is my plan. And this is the coral Swarovski 4mm. So that is under the S word on the website. But if you search 4mm round coral or something along those lines, that is where you're going to find that bead. And that color is just the one that I want for this project. So how is everybody doing? I am going to pop the supply list up here. And if you go to the top of the comments, like if you scroll up to the very first comment on this video, the 3mm Rolo chain is linked in that comment. So I don't want to like keep adding it and have it be something people have to search for. It's just the very first comment there. But this is the look of the chain in its glory here. So it's actually a fairly dainty chain, which I think is why it's nice to have it doubled up in the stitched design like this, because you're actually stitching your beads around and into your chain. It's pretty cool. So I'll leave that up while I'm fussing around with the cameras and getting everything rearranged. Never guess the first time. I'm gonna pull my face into the smaller spot. The chain is sold by the foot, and I would suggest getting 2 feet for stitching with. It's just easier if you have extra for this part. And then you are gonna want 3 feet if you're making the bracelet as the original design. I'm going to show you what I mean, because the original design had an extra piece of chain laying along the side, and I think 2 feet's really going to be cutting it close if you only do that. But with an extra piece of chain, you can like add your dangles to that along with the charms on the end there. But 2 feet will be enough for plenty for stitching this part of the project. And I'm going to show you some alternatives tonight as to how you can utilize more of that bundle with the little nautical bottles. Oh, sorry guys, Walter's in a mood tonight. I'm sure you could hear his adorable little bark out there. Man, I always underestimate the amount of space I'm going to need on my desk, but we're going to get this figured out. I'm going to get my bead mat in here so that I actually have a workspace. There we go. Bead mat for the win. So I am going to actually pour out some of my seed beads. So you've got a mix in these sets with 2 different colors of size 11s and either a 6 or an 8, depending on the mixed color, and a delicate bead in an 11. So we are going to be working with just one color of the regular 11s, but you could use both of the colors and mix them into your project if you care to do so. There we go. This is going to be the perfect lighting for your work. So I'm going to cut myself some chain. And I would suggest if you have a continuous piece of chain, meaning that like if you have 2 feet, it's all one section. Start off with just like folding it in half. Oop. And then, oh, Lori, the blue combo, the 4mm fire polish that I liked was the Cobalt Iris Luster. So if you search that whole phrase, Cobalt Iris Luster, you should find a 4mm fire polish with that name. I can find you the link if you do have more trouble still. So just let me know. But yes, roughly folded in half piece of chain. If the ends aren't perfect, it's okay because you can trim them when you're done. You're going to trim that folded part too, but just to get going, we're going to leave it like that. Just going to leave that. Yeah, the bottle's not going to show anyways. So we'll take that out of the shot there in its entirety. I almost feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit. I don't know if I talked a lot today. I was hanging out doing some art with some girlfriends. I am working with the 10-pound wildfire, and I'm going to cut myself 2 yards. It's a lot of thread. I'm almost tempted to do more, but I don't want to have too much to deal with. So all right. Go back and screenshot this supply list if you need it. Oh, good, Lori. I'm glad. I am going to switch out and give us a little bit more screen space there. But I'm going to get... I've got a needle on this tray. We'll see if this is the right... It might be too thick, but hopefully not. Does anybody have any fun New Year's plans? What do you guys got going on? Hopefully fun and safe activities. Chris and I are going to lay a little low this year. I don't think we're going to do a whole lot, but we'll see. All right. 4mm pearls, but fire polish are a little extra sparkly. And I'm going to grab my chain, get a couple of links going, and I might push this out of the camera's view just so you guys can see, or so it's not distracting the lens, so to speak. So I'm adding one size 11 seed bead, and then I'm going to go through a link, not right at the end, but close to it. Lori, snoozing by 10 p.m. And then once you go through the link, right now that's an arbitrary link choice, but we'll be more specific later. And then we're going to put on one of those 4mm fire polish or rounds. And we're going to pull our thread through just enough that we can grab one more link. And you want to leave, I'm going to leave, let's see, 4 links in between the two that we're going. So like if you count the link that you're exiting from the first pass, you count 1, 2, 3, 4 empty links, and then you go through the 5th. That is, we want that much space. And then one more size 11. And I'll show you guys. This first part is going to be the hardest, so don't give up if it gives you trouble, because that's just the situation. And you could use a stop bead at the beginning, probably would be preferable. And okay, let's start over because I think I want a stop bead. Sorry, guys. Okay. Stop bead is going on the thread, but that's going to be a bead that's utilized later, so it's still a useful bead. But to create a stop bead, you go back through from the tail end first. Sorry, I'm going off camera. I've got my camera nice and close to the table, so I can't rip my needle through my thread the way I normally would. Okay. But the way a stop bead works is as you pull that close, it's going to tighten that loop of thread around your bead, and that's a temporary hold. I just realized that you're going to want more links of chain. So we're going to leave 8 links of chain between the two that we start at the end. So if you count from the center 2 links, then we're going to go down 2, 4, 6, 8. There we go. And this won't matter as much until we get this 4mm bead on here. So we started with our 11 stop bead. We went through a link, and then once we get that 4mm pulled down, we're going to count up from where our thread is currently exiting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to go through number 9. I just want to leave enough chain at the end to be able to trim some off and do any additional connecting. All right. We are going to go through an 11, and at this point, we are going to skip that link that's laying opposite of the one we're coming out of. So we're coming out of a link, we skip one, and we go through towards the inside of the bracelet, the next link. And it's a little wibbly wobbly still, but we're going to make it there. That's a little easier to see now. So we want to, at this point, add a 4mm. So when you're in between the two pieces of chain, we're adding the 4mm. When we're on the outside, we're adding size 11s. And you're going to look at this side of the bracelet, and you're going to count from the piece of chain you're going through here. You skip one and you go through the next one, but you're working from the inside out this time. There we go. So instead of grabbing another 11, I'm going to use the one that's on as the stop bead. I think it's just going to help keep everything a little more taut. So I'm going to go through I'm going to do it partially. I'm going to go part way and then I promise I'll explain. But I need to make sure I'm going through all the right things before I tell you what I'm doing. Okay. So I went through that 11 again, and then the piece of chain, the 4mm, and the other piece of chain. All of these things are things that we've gone through once before. Yikes, why is it so funky here? I think that the top and bottom is getting a little bit confused. Yeah, my chain looks like it got a little twisty on me, so I wonder if I need to didn't look that way until I did that last step. So let me pull that thread back out. Hopefully this is just helpful for people to see the process of having to fix some things as you work. And obviously you guys will be following along after. It's so odd. When I go back to, or when I pull out that piece of thread just through the 4mm, it all looks right again, but there was definitely some wonkiness. Maybe something got tugged the wrong way before, but it's looking right now. Okay. So once you've made your way, right now you are at the back end of the bracelet. You're at the start end. So we need to work our way up before we continue to add beads. We're going to go through a few things at a time. So like you're retracing your steps by, we were already exiting the chain. So we're going to go through the 11 and through this piece of chain here. And then you're going to go through the 4mm and that piece of chain. Pull my thread out of my way gently so you guys can see. So you want to end up at the front, or the working end, I like to call it, of your project. And I'm using the white thread. Hopefully that's showing up better. Felt like a darker thread might be harder to see on camera, but we'll see if that proves to be correct or not. All right, from this point, we're going to add 111. We're going to count from the piece of chain we're coming out of. We're going to skip one piece. And there, you'll start to notice that you're going through the pieces that are going only one direction. Hopefully that makes sense. If anybody has any questions live, let me know. It's always helpful to answer questions that other people might have them too. And then we're going to add that 4mm. We're going to skip one piece of chain on the other side, and we're going to go through the one that's facing up and down. I'm probably working with too long of a piece of thread, but I really don't love the idea of having to start a new thread on a project like this at any point. So I will keep you guys posted on 2 yards might not be enough, but Okay, so we're at the point where we just need to add one more 11 to complete the section, because right now we're missing an 11 between those two last fire polish or rounds on that side. So we're gonna add an 11 and we go back through the chain and the 4mm from the previous section. Now, this is where you just have to keep an eye on, there's a top and a bottom to this bracelet, and you just have to pull your 11s taut so that they sit on the top of your chain. Or they all need to be on the same side at least. So once you're exiting the chain on this side, again, you're retracing your steps. So I'm going through an 11 and that piece of chain there. And then I'm going to go through a 4mm and the other piece of chain. I'm going to do the whole process one more time just because we've had some little flubs along the way. But then I will also talk about finishing and taking care of like the ends of your thread and how to deal with this part of the bracelet, and we'll work on some other design ideas. So how does that sound? All right. From exiting a piece of chain, everything looks complete up to this point, meaning for every set of 4mm, you have an 11 between each of them on each side. So if you are coming out of the working end of the piece of chain, then you are going to add an 11 and skip one piece of chain and go through the next towards the center of the bracelet. And then we are going to grab a 4mm and we are going to choose the piece of chain that is sitting opposite of the one we were just working with on the other side. And we will go through the chain. So then you can see, hopefully, on the side that there's an open link, because at no point should you see the chain sitting like this empty until or if it's complete, so to speak. Your section's not complete if you can see that. So from this point, because we have that open link, we have to add an 11 and go back through the previous sets of chain links and the 4mm. So that whole area there. And then once you avoid pulling your pliers over with your, and this is what I'm talking about. That 11 fell to the bottom of that piece of chain. You have to pop it up and pull it tight so that it sits on the same side of your chain as everything else. And then I'm going to go through this 11 over here. Oop, sorry guys, flicking you around here. And then we're going to go through all of that chain and that 4mm. You guys feel like you're getting it? I'm working with like an 11, maybe even a size 10, but it's definitely not a 12 needle. I would say an 11 or a 12 would be what you would want for this project, just for the sake of being able to get through your beads. But these glass pearls actually have pretty generous holes, so I think we're doing okay. I'm going to grab a little sip of water. And then I'm going to take my tail thread, so the one that is attached to that stop bead, and I'm going to put my needle on it. If you've still got thread wrapped around your bead, I'm going to go back through the bead just to pull that thread off. And then I'm going to go through I'm following the thread path coming out of where my bead, or where my thread was exiting my bead rather. I'm going to go to the other side of the chain, and then I'm going to catch. This is the same technique I always use to make knots. I'm just going to catch my thread between the two beads. So the key here, and then I went through the loop and I'm pulling that tight. You don't want to go across a piece of chain to make that overhand knot. Meaning if you've got thread wrapped around a piece of chain, we're not happy with that. But I'm just retracing steps. And I think I've got my thread cutters tucked away. Nope, they're right there. I was nervous that my trusty thread cutters were missing. That's all you need. 2 knots in the same place, and then move that needle away a bit, and you've got that end of the thread buried and cut. Oh, thanks, Lori. I know. Really pretty with these colors. I'm really loving the combo as well. So in each of these sets, if you are utilizing the those little bottle mixes, you've got 2 different sets of anchors and wheels, and then 4 of the shells. So you can go through and choose the combination you like best, which for me is this one out of this set. And the only thing you need to do with these little guys is pop them on some head pins. So I'll show you guys some quick wire wraps, but it's just the basic stuff that I do. Aw, thanks, Susan. Yeah, these colors, other than that added pearl, the colors are all part of that, that mix. So we've got some really cute, brighter copper, they might be called rose gold, ball end head pins on the website. Just don't happen to have any right handy here. So I'm just using these stiffer other style that we carry in the store and in the antique copper, which is totally acceptable. So you make that first right angle bend on your wire or head pin that you're using. And then I like to work, I mean, these pliers are pretty skinny on the end, but I like to work about 1/3 of the way from the tip of the plier to make this loop bend. Oop. So you're looking for that shape before you move your pliers up. I like to have, once I'm ready to wrap, I like to have my wire almost at a 90-degree angle again, because it's just a little bit easier. And then I also recommend using your flat nose pliers if you don't have anything else attached to the loop at the time. It's a little easier just to hold on to it like that. And this is a stiff wire, so I'm only going to give it like 1 full rotation there. But you guys, if you're using those ball pins, the wire is a thinner gauge on those. So you're going to want to give it a little bit more wrap. Plus, a messy wrap is always cute. All right, do a repeat with your other charms, and you could totally do the cutest bracelet with those flowers, Lori, that you saw in the mix. There's different sizes and shapes of those. They would make such a cute little cluster of charms on a bracelet like this. They just don't come with the built-in seed bead combo, so you'd have to choose your own seed beads. But just repeat this basic gallery wrap is actually the term for this. And you can also grab that loop with your round nose pliers. The flat nose are a little bit more stable, but sometimes I'm lazy and I don't want to grab another pair of pliers. So bing, bang, boom. such an easy, I mean, you guys, I labored pretty intensely over choosing these combinations of nautical beads and the seed bead mix to go with it. I did that so that you don't have to. You can just like pick up that mix and run with it. So you are so welcome. It's one of my favorite parts of my job, and consequently, it's one of the things that people talk about, the idea that they think that's one of the things I'm best at. So it's very gratifying to put really beautiful color combos together. And I swear before I started this video, I scrubbed my hands with sugar scrub and oily stuff, and I put lotion on, but this Michigan weather is beating up everyone's skin right now. So I'm sorry for the imperfect sort of manicure situation I have going on. But that is the finished set of charms. And I don't know how much I can show without having the rest of the bracelet done, but I want to share a few ideas about all of the attaching and what to like watch for, things that might trip you up. I've got some fine soft flex here that I really just want to do something with this seed bead mix because it's so pretty that I think it'd be really cute to have like a combination of things. I'm just going to throw a few of these beads on here to give you guys an idea of what might be fun. I think there's about 30 grams from what I'm remembering of these beads. You have more of the 11s than anything else. The delicas and the larger seed beads are maybe like 5 grams each, and then about 10 grams of each of the regular 11 colors. Again, that's like vague memory, but I believe I talked about that more in that video from the live sale, which is possibly up on Facebook for a minute longer. And I would say you could even every once in a while, I think you have enough of the 4mm beads from a strand that you could totally throw in a few of those. So basically what I'm getting at is in these bracelets that are now somehow intertwined, there's an extra piece of chain setting alongside of your stitched one. And I did that so that you could actually like run dangles off of like somewhere down the middle of the project. And then we've got a couple at the end there. And you can totally add more, especially since you have more colors available of your nautical charms. You could totally throw more into your bracelet. But the point being that the that little piece of chain could be, with these mixes, replaced by some strands of seed beads. So you could do patterns, you could do solid colors. That would just go right, it would get attached right at the clasp, which I'm going to show you guys what I do with these jump rings. As soon as I lay my eyes on, there we go. So this is, I've got an 8mm jump ring here. I don't know if I have these listed on the website. I've got them at the store. Keep me posted if you're looking for something like that. But I've got them in colors to match the chain that I have. So that's the big thing. And the ball and socket clasp. You could use a super cute toggle or something, but you would want to beware of like the ends of your project, because toggles need a certain amount of room without beaded adornments in order to work properly. So just opened up one of these jump rings and you twist to open. You don't pull them apart by the ends. And when you're cutting your chain, you are going to need to leave 2 links past your last used piece. And I will show you as I separate. There we go. Get one of them off there. So here, with a needle, you need that empty ring that you would normally cover with a seed bead, and then one more ring. So 2 empty rings past the last used ring on each side for that jump ring to sit just right. That's why I started to get all squirrely when I was beginning to stitch this, because I realized that no, you really need a certain amount of space to get the jump ring on. So then you come in from the outside working towards the inside and then back towards the outside on that last piece of your chain. Hopefully that's making sense to everybody. I think it's a pretty simple concept. I think for me, I like to know why I'm doing something. So hopefully you guys understand why, so you don't try to mess around and get crazy with other ideas. The seal on your jump ring is really important. There's like a hair of space there, and I think that'll be fine, but I'm going to just give it a little, and I don't like using my round. There we go. Push it with my fingers. There. That is like the ends are meeting pretty securely. So this piece of wire with your strand, you would just attach right to that jump ring that your chain stitched part is attached to. Alternatively, if you want more strands of chain, you would just cut those to length once you're done and attach those here. And then the other thing you can do in this spot is, now that I've got it all sealed up nicely, you can actually throw a few of your charms right in this section, because it's a nice big jump ring and it gives you some like breathing room for adding things. The other part about this jump ring is that it's facing, like, it'll lay flat against your skin because of the way that your bracelet will lay. So that's going to be a good spot to attach some of your charms. And then I need to grab, here they are. This jump ring is a 5mm jump ring. Might even be 4mm on the inside roughly, but either way, it is the right size for, and again, I have this type of jump ring in all the matching colors for the chain. So that's key, isn't it? Let me know if you're in need. But we're going to attach a smaller jump ring and one of the ends of our clasp. Goodness, that went through harder than it should have. And I think anytime you use a jump ring in a project, you want the seal to be as tight as possible. And my goal is to not be able to see space between the ends. And my round nose just is not cutting it tonight. So you can, yeah, there. That's as close as you have to get in order to see the opening there. Putting this on is going to help you guys see how how nicely the charms will lay in that section. So I'll just have to decide, like, I could put the anchor on the other side of that section. I can do my strand idea and string more charms along that at various points. And that would be a really easy thing to do if I utilized some of these pearls, because I could use the pearls as like a stopper so that my loop doesn't go over my seed beads. Because I'm pretty sure I sized that. There we go. Yep. So then your charm would just sit so that there was a bigger bead on each side of it. And then you would go along with your pattern of the seed beads. And then that would sit, let's just push all this off to the side. That would sit somewhere along the side of your bracelet, like so. So I'm going to just adjust this light a little bit and bring my face back up to the screen there. Hi again. Okay, I hadn't looked at the time in a minute, so it's good to see that I'm within my hour that I shoot for, because I really don't want to give you guys too much chit-chat talking at you beyond, making sure that you've got all the info you need to be able to finish your project. But if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email. See, of course, I don't have... Here, we'll just put this around for a second here. Sorry, guys. I cannot type one-handed. That just does not... not an option. All right. There we go. So there's my email address, Cassandra@beadstoliveby.com. Should leave that somewhere in my little banner section there for you all when you need it. But so, Lori, that's a great question. We will talk about that, and you're not going to like the answer. I'm not trying to purposely be difficult, but the completed chain part is going to depend on several things. Your wrist size is the biggest factor, but your clasp that you use, I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna have to pull this there we go, up a little bit. The clasp that you use and how you go about finishing the bracelet is going to be a factor in how long this part should be. So what you saw me do tonight with finishing off the start end is a great choice, because you'll be able to better size your work as you go. So if you've got all this completed at one end with your clasp on, and you've got both pieces of the clasp over here, you can run your bracelet along your wrist and hold the ends together when you think you're getting close. So you don't have to add all the charms or the second strand yet. You can get all of the other measuring done with the stitched part, and then go back and measure and add the other, any other layers you're adding to the bracelet. Does that make sense? Hopefully. I think these two bracelets that are sitting here, the completed ones, are two different lengths, and I honestly don't know which one fits me, but one is definitely longer than the other one. And remember, you could always add a jump ring or two at the end. So making it a tiny bit short is not as temperamental or problematic as making it a little bit longer. Yes, Lori, excellent question. Those are the ball and socket clasps. They are by far our favorite clasps we use, and they are on the website. So if you go to Findings and Chain, That's one of the tabs, or if you just search ball and socket, either way, you should be able to find those. Aw, thanks, Susan. I appreciate that. Hopefully this was a good refresher for you and will help you to utilize the project you had set aside and maybe tempt you to do some new color combos with the new shells we brought back. All right, guys, I think, oh, good, Lori. I'm so glad you loved it. Thank you so much for joining us. Girls that were here live, I appreciate you being here so I have somebody to chit chat with. If you're watching after the fact and at this point into the new year, I hope you love your project. And if you have, again, any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. But I will talk to you all soon, okay? Bye.